is a ReTV documentary. Why does Dog the Bounty Hunter and Jean-Claude Van Damme have the same face? More to the point, why do their sons also have the same face? Check out my exclusive series on my website. Episode 9 of the ReTV series Crocodile Tears. I've only gone and got a sponsor for this little video right here. How cool is that? Let me introduce you to Callcast, the only app that you will need if you want to make podcasts. Callcast is an all-in-one podcast making app. With the app, you can record, edit, publish, and promote right from your phone. You can record in person with only one phone, or you can use multiple phones via phone call. One of the more innovative features that the app has to offer is the live podcasting. This feature allows you to have a live audience while you record. With this feature, you can choose to interact with the audience at any time. For example, you can ask them questions on topics, say that they won something, or just make new connections. With this feature alone, Callcast brings something new and innovative to the podcast world. If you make or want to start making podcasts, you really should make Callcast the next app that you download. How'd I do? Did I do a good job? You gonna go download it?
They are some of the best actors you'll never see on the silver screen. It was all a ruse, an act, a performance worthy of a Hollywood film.
Paul Dyson.
Hello there. My fiancée, I don't know where she is. I was trying to report somebody missing.
What's her name, please?
It's Joanne Nelson. Joanne Jean Nelson. I'm assuming she's been to work and that, but it's just that the car's parked further up the road and the doors are unlocked. I've been trying to get hold of her on the phone since I've got in. There's no answer. Nobody seems to know I had no air of her.
It was parked further up the street and all the doors are unlocked.
Yeah.
Do you know the reg?
Does anybody know the registration?
Who's out there with you?
Her mum and dad.
Right. Has there been any arguments or anything, or should you press?
No, there's nothing like that. I mean, it's just completely out of character for her.
When Joanne Nelson disappeared on Valentine's Day, her fiancé Paul Dyson wept and pleaded for her return. But in fact, he'd strangled her in cold blood. And today he pleaded guilty to her murder. To 94 Hotham Road North in Hull, an ordinary family home in a suburb of Hull. But 9 months ago, the scene of a violent murder. Paul Dyson strangled Joanne Nelson, the girl he said he loved and was planning to marry.
As a teenager, Paul Dyson found a way to channel his aggression. A victim of school bullies, he got involved in jiu-jitsu and kickboxing. He kept up his training into his 20s, and those that knew him down the gym describe him as just a regular kid. But when he got work as a bouncer, his interest moved to bodybuilding, and he began to revel in the image of a tough doorman. Even then, Paul Dyson had something of a reputation as a liar. He worked as a bouncer in several pubs and clubs in Hull and used to exaggerate to his friends about the fights that he got into. He idolised his father, who'd been jailed in the 60s for manslaughter. Paul used to tell people his dad had worked for the Krays, but no one really knew if that was true.
22-year-old Joanne Nelson was apparently strangled by her 31-year-old boyfriend Paul Dyson in February of 2005 after an argument over housework. Dyson then drove 100 miles to dispose of Joanne's body and made an elaborate cover-up of her disappearance, and even made an emotional appeal on television. Dyson had a history of violence towards women, and he attacked his former wife on their wedding night, strangling her to the point of unconsciousness. He was 27 and she was 19. Despite the age gap, they were soon living together in Hull and planning to marry. But their relationship was increasingly troubled as Joanne realised her life was going nowhere with Dyson. While she had a flourishing career, and a wide circle of friends, resentful Dyson, a wood machinist, had only held a number of low-paid jobs. There were tensions over Joanne's ambitions to travel the world and constant rows over domestic chores. On the weekend of February the 12th and 13th, those strains boiled over into murder. Dyson's already fierce temper may have been worsened by the effect of taking steroids as part of his bodybuilding regime. He picked up his nickname of Psycho from working as a club doorman. But a source at the gym he attended in Hull said, although he used to tell of fights at the doors of pubs and nightclubs where he worked, I think he exaggerated. Maybe his dad was a hard case, but I have Paul as a fantasist rather than a hard man. His father, who he worshipped, stabbed a love rival to death and killed a dad of 7 in a hit-and-run crash. After killing her and dumping the body 40 miles away, he reported his girlfriend as missing on Valentine's Day. 2 days later, he made an apparently anguished TV appeal for her return. Dyson was arrested 4 days later and confessed to murder. Paul Psycho Dyson had admitted to strangling Joanne Nelson in a frenzy after she accused him of being so useless around the house he couldn't even turn on the washing machine. After Dyson confessed to killing Joanne, police had to find her body. He only remembered leaving her by a metal gate with some green bottles nearby. He was also able to describe some distinctive trees at the scene, which police tentatively identified as western hemlock, birch and hornbeam, all common in North Yorkshire. Police led the 6-week search for Joanne, which involved hundreds of police officers and civilians across 3 counties. They found her remains near York during a routine visit. Dyson eventually pled guilty to Joanne's murder and was sentenced to life imprisonment with a minimum of 16 years. He had previously admitted manslaughter and while on remand slashed his wrists, scrawling "sorry" in his blood on his cell wall. Shortly before his trial was due to begin, he changed his plea to guilty to murder.
Monday morning, because I couldn't get Valentine's Day off, we swapped cards upstairs. I gave her a kiss and a cuddle, got ready for work, and she was going to get her head down for another hour or so.
What does Joanne mean to you?
She's the only person I truly love. I want to know where she is. I want her back.
But Paul Dyson knew Joanne wasn't coming back. The day before Valentine's Day, in that very room, he'd killed her.
Neil Archer.
The mother of a man accused of killing his fiancée, Jody Myers, has fronted court charged over covering up the murder. Margaret Archer allegedly brought bags of cement used to bury the young mum and used the victim's mobile phone to send cruel, deceptive messages to her family.
Margaret and Neil Archer, mother and son, and now alleged accomplices.
This has been a very extensive investigation.
55-year-old Margaret Archer was arrested last night, accused of assisting her son to cover up the alleged murder of his fiancée, Jody Myers. Police allege she purchased more than 10 bags of cement from 2 hardware stores before the 20-year-old victim was buried beneath a shed on her Manham property, where her body was found a month later. It's not the first time Archer has been arrested in relation to the murder.
Have they accused you of using Jody's ATM card? Did you use the ATM card?
No, I didn't.
But today, that theft charge was withdrawn and replaced with the more serious offence of assisting an offender.
We are ecstatic. It's a great Christmas gift to finally have someone else charged in this matter.
6 members of Jody Myers' family were in the Murray Bridge court as prosecutors detailed a lengthy list of allegations. They claim that Margaret Archer placed $10 credit on Jody's mobile phone, which was later used to send a text message to her family, assuring them she was safe.
Lucy, how does it feel as a mother to hear those allegations?
I don't know, it's just, it hurts, it's just wrong.
Prosecutors complain that Jody's family was contacted by Margaret as recently as 3 days ago. They also claim that some of Jody Myers' belongings are still missing, and Neil Archer has been instructing his mother to hide unknown items from police.
We've done everything we possibly can to ensure the best brief of evidence is before the court.
Archer will be held in custody as her lawyers prepare an application for her release on home detention. The home that Margaret Archer has asked to live in during the court proceedings is the very place where Jody Myers' body was found buried 2.5 months ago. Her lawyers say that she needs to be here so that she and her partner can continue to care for their 8-year-old grandson. Archer's partner Lawrence avoided cameras at the property this afternoon. Margaret is back in court on Tuesday. Neil will next appear in February.
We'll be there as a family, whole way through. We won't miss any of it.
Ben Avery, 9 News.
The fiancé of a missing South Australian woman who stared into TV cameras and pleaded for her to come home had already murdered and buried her under the floor in his parents' tool shed. After a family barbecue in 2015, Neil Archer strangled the mother of his 2-year-old son, Jody Myers, following a heated argument sparked by his concerns her family was trying to break them up. He took the 20-year-old's body to his parents' home east of Adelaide and buried it under the floor of the tool shed before returning the next day to cover the grave with fresh concrete. Archer, who told the police that Jody had taken off, then stood alongside his mother Margaret, knowing that the nation was watching, and pleaded for Jody to come home. Mrs. Archer would later plead guilty to 1 count of assisting her son. I'm not sure that that's a real crime, assisting your son. But as they tried to fool the media and the public, investigators were building their case. Mrs. Archer's unwitting husband Lawrence, who had been away in Tasmania during the murder, told police Neil had been concreting the shed floor, which even he found suspicious given how lazy Neil was.
Weeks after Jody vanished, Margaret Archer's husband Lawrence, who had nothing to do with the crime, innocently agreed to an interview.
We need her back really, really bad. Because Jody, I love you, everybody loves you. Come home, please.
Then Margaret yelled out from inside the house.
You don't go telling them anything. I've already told them to leave me alone.
Yeah, she just...
All right.
She
Thank
just
you for talking to us.
No, that's all right. She just
Now, if any of that is printed, I will be sued. No, I've had enough.
Despite her initial reluctance, Margaret eventually agreed to be interviewed.
What would you like to say?
I would like Jody to at least contact somebody, because this is getting really bad. We miss her. We want her to come home, or at least contact someone. Someone that's out there knows anything, to contact the police or Crime Stoppers. Her son needs her. He needs his mum. Sorry.
A detective said that when Lawrence came home, he was surprised to discover that his shed floor had been concreted. He described it as a terrible job. Neil told him it was a surprise for Father's Day. They later found CCTV from a nearby Bunnings that showed Margaret buying 600 kilograms of cement. However, in the end, it was a significant piece of information that the Archers failed to ever disclose that triggered their respective downfalls. One day after her disappearance, CCTV showed Neil and Margaret at the bank using Jody's ATM card to withdraw £250 before topping up Jody's phone with credit purchased at a local newsagent. They'd been interviewed and they'd never mentioned withdrawing that money. They'd lied about it. That was one of the first and most significant tells. It was a typo-filled text message that Jody's mother Lucy received from her daughter's phone number that raised her suspicions. I got a message, supposedly from Jody, saying that she'd left Neil, she'd gone with friends, she'll contact me. I knew straight away from then that something wasn't right, because there's no way she'd leave her son behind, Lucy explained. Jody was a pretty good speller, and if she did make a mistake, she'd repeat it, like retext the actual word. That's when we went to the police station and reported her missing.
More CCTV video then emerged. suggesting that Neil and Margaret were behind that text message sent from Jody's phone 2 days after she vanished.
We managed to pick up Neil and Margaret in Neil's green Ford, parking outside the Manham News Agency. We then get footage of Margaret going into Manham News Agency, and she buys a recharge voucher. She then leaves the news agency, goes and sits back outside in a car with Neil. The car stays there for 6 minutes. During that time, Jody's mobile service is recharged from the voucher she's just bought. The text message is sent, and a couple of minutes after the text message is sent, they drive away. There was only the two of them in the car when that phone was charged, when the credit was put on it, and that text message was sent. It was either one or both of them, and again, regardless of which, the other must have known what they were doing. They were both sat in the front seats.
Jody had been missing for 1 month before her body was eventually discovered buried under the concrete slab. During a trial at the South Australian District Court, Neil Archer was sentenced to a 22-year non-parole period for Jody's murder, while his mother was sentenced to 6 years in prison.
She was like a daughter to me. We spoke about anything and everything. And I miss that. So, yeah.
As police searched the town of Manham and the banks of the Murray River for clues, Neil told anyone who'd listen that he'd been abandoned.
He's more interested in everything else.
Holding his young son Elijah, Neil fronted the cameras, begging Jody to come home.
We're all hoping she just needs some time for herself and hopefully returns later on safe.
But you didn't write that message? Or?
No. I can guarantee 100% I did not write that message. I don't know who actually accessed the account. I'm hoping it was her or maybe one of her friends if she's asked them to do it for her. So hopefully that all works out and they do hopefully find something from that. So.
But once again, was it you using that account?
No.
They went so far as to tell investigators Jody left with a mystery couple in a red four-wheel drive.
The people that were there that night in the red four-wheel drive have gone there obviously to pick her up, which it didn't take them too long to get there, so they can't live too far from Manham itself. But hopefully they're just helping her, like pretty much in a sense hiding her away so she can sort herself out in a sense. Any information will help them, so more than happy to fill them in with all their inquiries and things like that.
Just for the record, I mean, did you kill Jody?
No. I did not. I would never harm her. She was...
So you're not a murderer? You're not a killer?
No, I'm not. I've never harmed anyone in that way, so I would never harm anyone in that way. If she is out there, I would appreciate or at least contact somebody. It doesn't have to be directly to me. It could be anybody, as long as she contacts someone to let us know that she is safe.
Just come home, Jody. Contact somebody. Let us know that you're okay.
I'm very worried because she hasn't contacted anyone as far as I know of. Me and her son really do want her to contact somebody or come home.
Her son needs her. He needs his mum. Sorry. Because this is getting really bad. Someone that's out there knows anything to contact the police or Crime Stoppers.
Well, if she is listening, I just want her to know that we all do love her and miss her dearly, and we would really like her to come home. I wouldn't be the man I was today if I hadn't met her. So she's made me grow up quite a fair bit, especially like she's the first woman that I've actually had a long relationship with. She's given me a family, she's given me a beautiful son, and she gave me a beautiful partner in herself.
We miss her, we want her to come home.
Margaret and Neil know the nation is watching, wiping away the tears, playing the part well. But if you look a little closer, you'll see they're not real tears at all.
Tracy Andrews.
Good afternoon. Detectives investigating the murder of a man in last week's so-called road rage attack have arrested a 27-year-old woman. Lee Harvey was stabbed to death in a country lane. His fiancée was with him when he died.
An evening in the pub with her boyfriend ended in death. According to 27-year-old Tracy Andrews, she left the pub with Lee Harvey in his Ford Escort. She told police they overtook another car which gave chase. At a press conference, she described what happened to them.
It was a case of both Lee and the other person were like playing cat and mouse with each other.
Tracy Andrews said Lee Harvey was stabbed to death by a passenger in the second car. An hour ago, West Mercia police said they had arrested a 27-year-old woman. Jackie Rowley, BBC News.
Tracy Andrews is apparently an English murderer who killed her fiancé Lee Harvey on the 1st of December 1996. She was apparently sentenced to life imprisonment after being found guilty of murder at her trial in July of 1997 and served 14 years before being released from prison.
The attack happened on a country lane near Old Church in Worcestershire. Lee Harvey died from multiple stab wounds as his girlfriend, a passenger, tried to comfort him. The unemployed bus driver was murdered after a road rage confrontation.
Yes, you could call it road rage. Obviously, to us, it's murder.
Andrews had a baby daughter at age 21, but her relationship with her then partner lasted barely a year before they separated. She was notably possessive with her partners, not liking them having a life without her or being able to go out without her. Most who knew her also said that she had a vicious temper and that she was prone to aggressive and explosive displays of anger. She began a relationship with local man Lee Harvey in 1994, and the relationship moved quickly, with the pair moving in together only 3 months after they had met. Their relationship was marked by volatility, with both being possessive and jealous of each other's relationships with other men and women, and often violent towards each other, resulting in the police being called numerous times. Neighbours had reported that they would often have loud arguments and they regularly broke up. Harvey had confided in friends the many problems that the couple had. Andrews became particularly infuriated when a family member of Harvey's announced he planned to get married, which enraged her as she thought it took away the limelight from her own upcoming marriage to Harvey. Harvey was also infuriated when he discovered that Andrews had aborted their unborn child. Police were called to the house in October of 1996, only a month before Harvey was murdered. After discovering that Andrews had bitten Harvey on the neck on one occasion, Harvey's mother told him that they should separate for the sake of his daughter. On the 30th of November 1996, after another day of fierce arguments, Andrews and partner Lee Harvey went to a local pub for the evening in an attempt to reconcile. Andrews claimed that on the way back to their flat in Worcestershire, during the early hours of the 1st of December 1996, the pair became involved in a road rage incident with 2 men. She claimed a car had followed her and Harvey and that 2 men from the car had confronted and attacked them after stopping them on a country lane. In reality, apparently, Andrews had stabbed Harvey over 42 times with a penknife after they had stopped in his car following an argument. Harvey's sister later said that she knew from the time that she was told about the murder that Andrews had killed him. At a press conference on the 3rd of December 1996, Andrews claimed that Harvey was killed in a road rage attack, saying that a fat man with staring eyes had stabbed him over 30 times after getting out of a Ford Sierra in which he was a passenger. Over the next 2 weeks, police carried out investigations to track down the murderer of Lee Harvey. Harvey and Andrews' car had stopped outside a cottage on a country lane before Harvey was stabbed, and the commotion had alerted a male resident living metres away who discovered Harvey's body stabbed on the floor and a bruised and bloodied Andrews standing by him. He immediately ran back to his house to call emergency services. Police noted that Harvey's car had apparently not stopped on the road in any hurry, but had been neatly parked on the side of the road. Harvey had been stabbed in the back, throat and front repeatedly 42 times, and had been fatally stabbed through an artery in his neck. Although Andrews claimed that she and Harvey had been attacked in a road rage incident, in her press conference on the 3rd of December, she said that the driver of the attacker's car was not to blame and appealed for him to come forward, something which the police questioned as the driver had supposedly facilitated the attack on Harvey. Andrews seemed to contradict her original statement, giving different times to her original story, and the police had to step in and stop her while she told her story to the press. Police also noted that Andrews had a lot to say for a person that was supposedly in shock. After the press conference, police began to question Andrew's story. A witness statement from a child in an adjacent cottage said that she could clearly hear an argument between a man and a woman after the car had parked up on the night. Police did not find any evidence that a second car had overtaken Harvey's car to stop it before the attack, noting that there were no tyre marks on the grass next to the narrow, single-lane country road that would be expected if such an event had taken place. Apparently, more than 80 strands of Andrew's hair was found in Harvey's hand, which pathologists determined had to have been taken from her head with considerable force, for example, through a physical struggle. Most notably, 2 witnesses came forward after Andrew's press conference to say that they had seen Harvey's white Ford Escort car driving past them on the lane that Harvey was murdered on the same night, but that no car was following it and no other cars had been seen by them on that lane that evening. This disproved Andrew's story that she and Harvey had been attacked in a road rage incident after being followed by a car whilst driving home. Having invented her story of how Harvey was murdered, Andrews had then gone on to hold Harvey's mother's hand and the hand of his sister while she recounted the fabricated story in the national press conference on the 3rd of December. With suspicion mounting on Andrews, she attempted suicide on the day after the press conference by taking an overdose of pills. Andrews' suicide attempt and the confirmation that no road rage incident could have occurred convinced police of the need to arrest her. She was still in hospital 2 days later when police first arrested her and questioned her about the murder.
My client was arrested 3 minutes ago and she is now being taken to Redditch Police Station. She has been arrested on suspicion of the murder.
Oh, come on. Do people actually believe this shit? Under no circumstances would your solicitor be confirming to the press 3 minutes after you had been arrested that you'd been arrested for murder. And what, within 3 minutes the solicitor and press are on site to report this production? Come on, pull the other one, mate. After being discharged from hospital, she was charged with the murder of Lee Harvey on the 19th of December 1996 and released on bail.
She has been interviewed at length by the police and she has vehemently denied any involvement in the murder of her fiancé. And she stands by that total and absolute denial.
Oh, you should have said. I thought she just denied it. I didn't know she vehemently denied it. That makes all the difference.
Free on bail and fighting to clear her name, Tracy Andrews today continued to protest she's innocent of murder. Tracy Andrews is alleged to have stabbed her boyfriend more than 30 times. Today at Birmingham Crown Court, she denied murdering him.
Tracy Andrews ran the gauntlet of press and television cameras today when she arrived at Birmingham Crown Court for the 10th day of her trial for the murder of her fiancé, Lee Harvey.
Police today set out the evidence to support their account of what they believe took place on the night of Lee Harvey's murder. A packed courtroom gathered this morning as Tracy Andrews took the witness stand to give her account of what happened on the night of her fiancé Lee Harvey's murder.
Tracy Marguerite Andrews stood impassively in the dock as she was found guilty of the murder of her fiancé,
Marguerite Andrews.
Tracy Andrews, the infamous road rage killer imprisoned for life in 1997, today sensationally confessed that she was responsible for the murder of her fiancé, Lee Harvey. The confession, written from her prison cell, has been attacked by the Harvey family as merely a ploy to reduce her life sentence.
She was charged with murder on the 1st of July 1997 and was found guilty on the 29th. Andrews was apparently sentenced to life imprisonment, with a recommendation that she serve at least 14 years. Andrews appealed the sentence, claiming that she was the victim of a miscarriage of justice because of damaging publicity surrounding her case. In October 1998, the appeal was denied, and she was subsequently released in July of 2011.
Please just come forward. And if anybody else can remember seeing us, can remember seeing the car following us, or can remember anything about this, please just come forward, because every little thing could help.
About what time did you leave the pub?
Well, we left about 10 to 10, something like that, I'd say.
Yeah.
I didn't really look at my watch. I don't really know what time I left.
That's 10 to 10, not 10 to 11.
No, about 10 to 10.
And I think I did sort of step in after a while and sort of say,
We're perhaps getting into a bit too much detail that we don't actually want to go into quite at the moment.
I fell to the floor. I can't remember if I was knocked out for a bit or what, I don't know. The driver walked off. It was nothing to do with the driver. Whoever this person is that was with you, you obviously know him. But he's ruined my life. He's ruined the life of Maureen and Ray and Michelle, Lee's sister, and these little girls, Danielle. And please just tell us who he is, because you won't get in any trouble at all. It was not your fault. Both me and the other person were like playing cat and mouse with each other for a while. And they overtook us. I was shouting at Lee to slow down, just ignore them and stop the car. But I don't know if a lot of men are like it and a lot of women are like it, but you get behind the wheel of a car, you know, sometimes you change personality. It was just the way he looked. His eyes was, he had starey eyes. Just didn't seem normal. I saw the man hit me. I don't know what with. I didn't see anything. I got out of the car because I'm not the sort of person to sit there. I've done a first aid course when I was little. I was trying to think of everything that I could do. Put my coat over him and I didn't move him. And I just tried to stop the bleeding really and comfort him as much as I could.
Thanks for watching. If you got this far, I actually love you. If you enjoyed the content, give it a thumbs up. If you want to support this channel, smash that subscribe button now. What are you waiting for? A massive thank you to the people who have kindly supported my channel, the official ReTV supporters who sponsor this content. You guys are awesome. Peace. You've been watching a ReTV documentary.